It's Tuesday.
It is.
Hello, everybody.
It is, isn't it?
It is. It means it's Beyond 2D Day.
It is Beyond 2D today.
How are you, my friend?
I'm breathing.
Me too.
Yeah, see? So we're good. We're halfway
We have
there.
things in common. We have things in common here, you guys. Welcome to Beyond 2D, everybody. We're here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month with you all for another rabbit hole conversation. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and this is my fabulous co-host.
I'm Farron, Dozier, retired Army Sergeant First Class.
There it is. There it is. We've been talking about love.
Haven't we?
We have. We've been talking about love here on the show. This is our fourth and final episode of our mini series. Our mini series on love. Farron has been waiting very impatiently for this day.
Yes, finally.
I love it. I've had a good time in this conversation because it has, even though I'm a person who I've kind of just always been a lovey person. That's just always been part of my nature. This series has helped me dig even deeper into my being love and what that actually looks like and things like that. I was getting all emotional before we came on the screen today. Oh my Lord. And so I've been even though I love this for myself and for all of you out there that maybe do consider yourself a more lovey person, there's always something more that you can learn about yourself. And see where you can take things. What I know that you've been dreading this series and really not having the greatest time with it, but what's your takeaway so far about
I got a surprise for you, actually.
Oh, okay.
So this work that we've been doing here on around love and what's love got to do with it, plus all the other stuff in my life that I've been taking on, this category actually fit in the perfect time that I discovered what was in the way of me in wanting to experience that love. Is I discovered about 52 years of my life I've been living and avoiding being disappointed, embarrassed, and shame. So how can you even be in the space of love when you feel that way about yourself?
Yeah.
And so to unravel that and to discover that the fracture came from a 2-year-old child emotional decision that barely had language.
Right.
To have the brain make up a story like that at 2 about my mom, like I unrooted that, like it's gone. Like, and so now I see where all the shame and embarrassment and disappointment, where it shows up. And I'm like, oh, there it is right there. Like, oh, that's old. Like, oh, that's old. That's not today.
Right.
So yeah, so I appreciate you for, again, we've been on this is like what 3 seasons now so far. I mean, we've been at this, but I truly want to say thank you because I wanted a show like this where I could express myself.
Yeah.
And we both create that space in our own world, right? And then we brought that to this world, and I really, just so y'all are watching or listening, I really put my life in these conversations because I too want the freedom that we're talking about. You have to talk from it. I can't sit here and talk about it and then not experience it for myself because I'm talking about it, telling you what to do, and I'm over here not being about it myself. So I've learned to talk from my life and find those things that I trust. And if you trust this episode or this show, then you have the ability to put your life in these conversations and discover what you find for yourself. You might be surprised. You're not the
Right.
only one.
Right.
And so the space here is beyond 2D. I mean, it's a legit conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm free. I'm free. And I can I share one more bit?
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah. Yeah.
love, and I want to say this because the love for our parents is so important, because that's the first communication for love and connectedness and belonging. And if there's a fracture or something broken or whatever, a decision that you made that they disappointed you or they don't care about you or you're a burden, like emotionally, those are the fractures that I point to in life.
Mm.
And to see that in my 50s, I still had this yearn for my mom. Like I wanted her approval, or not even approval, but just to know that she was proud of me. Right. And I remember last year I asked her, I'm like, hey, mom, are you proud of me? She's like, am
Mm.
I proud of you? Man, I'm son, I brag about you. Like I'm proud of everything. And so when I started that, when that yearn came up again in my deep in my heart, I remembered that word she said to me. Like, and so I connected that yearn to my mom being proud of me. And then that's where I was able to put this work, these conversations, and dig it up and look like, wait a minute, that's what I'm looking for from my mom that came from a 2-year-old.
Mm. It's so amazing. So many of our topics that we've talked about on our shows, our beliefs, our
Mm,
habits, our opinions that we create around those things
yeah.
all come from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of times I feel like we don't commit to figuring out how to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
We slap band-aids on things. We write our own prescriptions on ways that we can treat these things without necessarily getting to the root cause
Yeah.
of going like, where did this start? Where did it come from? And sometimes we can even go beyond our lives on this planet and look at beliefs and things that our ancestors had about stuff, and it started before us.
Before we were born, the world
Right.
was in this kind of conversation.
Right. And so I think that the work that we are doing here on the show is so important. I agree with you. I come on this show. When I'll just say that this should give you a good idea. When I leave this show, I'm wiped out.
Yeah.
My other shows, it's not to say that they're all surface level, but I'm good to like finish the show, maybe take a little break and move on to something else. You know what I do after this show? I go to bed. I go to I go to bed is what I do. Because it's
Hey.
a lot, because I really do leave it all there. And like I said, even when we have topics that we come to this show feeling like we're already there, maybe I've
Yeah.
still walked away with peeling off another
Oh
layer
yeah,
or
yeah.
learning something else.
Because it's got to once it marinates, oh, it's a wrap. Once you
Yeah.
reflect, and again, these conversations that we're giving you, you don't have to, but
Yeah.
to apply it to your life, you gotta use it. You gotta
Right.
use it to see what shows up for you. And like I said, if we're coming across with this like this, I can only imagine if those of you who if you're willing to put your life in these conversations,
Right. Right.
you never know what you're gonna find. So I'm so like I'm okay with Farron so much that I'm like, okay, I'm just like, okay, like what's next? Because if that was what that was, then what else is in the way?
What can I peel
What
off
else can
next?
I dig up? What else can I dig up that's rooted deep in these experiences? So yeah, let's
I
go.
love it. By the way, Miss Brittany's out here, and she was telling you before, don't you start already. Don't you start already. She said she takes so much from this show, truly, and she's our biggest fan. Brittany always gives me good feedback about all of my shows, but this one is one where I feel like, and Brittany, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that she really like takes what we're saying and goes, okay, how can I apply this in
Right,
my life? What do I
right.
need to explore? What do I need to look at here? And so I hope that I want to hope that everybody's doing that, but at the same time, I do feel like, even just coming and listening and opening
Yes.
your mind to
Mhm.
other things that maybe you hadn't considered before is a
Yeah.
starting point. you know.
Just that little bit of perception to just look at it from one different perspective, one different interpretation. It could, and I believe that what you were saying earlier, for some people to have to go back and look at those stories and like that could be hurtful.
Right.
That could be harmful, but you have to do it in an environment that you trust. So when those things come up, you can actually address those things. But yeah, to have to go back down that rabbit hole and realize that I had to tell the truth to myself about some stuff that wasn't actually the truth.
Mm,
Yeah, I couldn't have done it on my own. I had to
right.
be in this environment that cultivates that space to look at there and be okay with what I discover.
Mm,
And sometimes you got to go beyond 2D.
yep. That's it. That's
That's
it.
it.
I want to do a quick recap before we get into
Oh,
our
this
topic
is gonna be
today.
painful.
This episode, we're going to be talking about love in action and what does that really mean. But episode one, we talked about what is love. We talked about love as a word, the history, the dictionary definition. We talked about the different biblical words for love that have that there's
Yes.
different words for love in the Bible, and that was really interesting. And ultimately, I think we determined that love in a word in itself is pretty complex because
For real.
because of all of the definitions that we all individually put on the word, what it looks like for all of us, like we just talked about our experiences, when did we form those beliefs, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was episode one. Episode two, we talked about the language of love. We dove into the concept of Dr. Gary Chapman's 5 love languages, and just in essence, how we all give and receive love differently.
Yeah.
And I feel like with that episode, we really hammered home the importance of communication in when it comes to love, especially because we all might get it twisted, like I said, because we might look at it differently or experience it differently. And if I say I love you, well, that's coming from my experience of
Yeah.
love, and you're receiving that I love you in your experience of love. But what is we they could be two very different things,
Totally different. Yep.
very different things. um and we talked about love languages beyond romance, families, within friendships, within work relationships, all of that.
Yeah.
And then last episode, we talked about unmasking love's challenges. So some of the challenges that we can face within love, and how do we even start having some of those difficult conversations about love anyway, which sometimes it's hard. I think when we love somebody and we don't want to let them down, how do we tell them you're really annoying me right now,
Yeah.
though? Because I love you,
But
but
hey,
take your chewing elsewhere.
oh, you can't go that. No, you can't be about the chewing. That's
Not me, but I hear that. I hear
oh,
that from
I
people
hear it
all the
too. I know
time.
I hear it all the
I hear
time.
it from
It was
people.
it was probably it was probably so cute in the beginning, and then once you got on my nerve, then like everything's annoying right now.
It's cute,
You're
but
you're
not anymore.
interrupting. You used to finish my sentences. Now you're annoying. So
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of things I feel like in the beginning of relationships that we overlook, because we're in that like honeymoon period, even in not even just a love relationship, but even in friendships, even in
Oh
work
yeah.
relationships, we're so excited about the
Mhm.
newness of things that we overlook a lot of these little things that bother us, and then we get into it and we're like, this has really been eating at me for a long time.
About that third argument, it's like, wait a minute, hold on. That's actually bothering me today.
And see, I totally forgot that the chewing was one of Brittany's things, and of course I
Oh,
had to
come on,
use
Britt. Come on, for real? To chew? Really?
it is chew.
Really?
I
I
totally
can't
forgot
wait till
about
we
that,
have our
Brittany. I
meeting.
swear to
I can't
God.
wait till we have our meeting in person.
Ah, but I mean, like, remember we even talked about, I use as a very real example. I prefer when I'm having a deep conversation with someone that we have some, it doesn't have to be like staring each other down, but some form of eye contact
Oh
at
yeah.
some point, because that tells me they're hearing me what I'm saying. And then my husband is very different than that. He tends to look elsewhere when he's thinking, when he's really trying to figure out like how to form things, because that man does not have a filter. So when he looks elsewhere, that's him trying to find his filter. So, but so I'm over here. This is a very real example. I'm over here getting mad because he's not looking at me. And meanwhile, he's just trying to stay focused because he's so ADHD, like on what I'm saying. Like he's staring in one spot on the wall that nobody knows about, he's just staring. And so when we then decided to communicate about that, where I said, it really bothers me when you don't look at me at some point, because I feel, and the reason why is because I feel like you're not listening to what I'm saying. And then and mind you, he could have gotten real pissed off and offended there, but he's going, okay, that's how she feels. And then he said, the reason why I don't stare at you is because X, Y. And so now we understand each other.
Yeah, you guys
and we don't have to get mad about it. And it's not about necessarily walking on eggshells for the other person. But if you're saying that you love them, then you got to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. Got to go with the dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's, I guess we'll get into it this episode, but for me, it's way more than just love to keep a relationship together. It's
right.
All the stuff that we discussed the first 3 episodes.
Right.
In combination.
100%. So listen, we're going to talk about today what does love in action really mean? What does it look like? And we're going to take super quick 30 seconds, because for me, one of the best things you could do to love yourself is to be a part of our community. And we'll be right back after this. Join us in our community at the breakthroughshownetwork.club. We would love to have you there. We have all kinds of events where even if you don't feel like you love yourself in this moment, we will love you. We will love you, and we will give you the space to learn to love yourself.
For sure.
All right. So what does love in action really mean? What does it look like to you? If I ask you if you are love, if you are being love, what does that look like for you?
I mean, if you saw me being love, I guess you would see me, like you say, being attentive, kind of paying attention, interacting, at a level of service to that person. I believe that's what you would see, because, like you said, it shows up for people differently. Yeah. So it would just me just being in some level of action, and the tone of my voice and the kindness, like you would see the smiles and things like that. Like you would know that, hey, that dude is really having a good time. And the actions for some description is love.
Right.
Like he must love that person, the way that he's treating them, the way that he's talking to them, the way that he's being with them. Like it's a different person.
I feel like love in action, we have to be okay with how we are being loved, and we have to be okay with it. And what I mean by that is, even if you are being kind and attentive and patient and compassionate and all of these things that love looks like to you, there are other people that may process that completely differently. That may not be love to them. They may not give a crap what you're being. So I feel like the heart of us being love has to start with us being good with how we're being loved. We gotta be okay with it.
That's why I stand there first before you can get into all the other stuff that we talked about. Like that's like number one, because if you can't accept the natural love from your loved ones, you're already trying to figure out how they should be with you versus accepting the natural love. And for me, that's where the disappointment and the shame and the embarrassment came from, because here I am being my natural self, and that person didn't even, acknowledge that. It
Right.
was like, nah, that's not what that is, or whatever. But again, it was such a build up to get to that point where it's like, why bother?
Right.
Like, oh yeah, I love you, but why bother? Because I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. So
Right.
how can we set aside our languages of whatever that love is for us and allow that person to just express it naturally before we start putting labels on stuff? And I really think that that's difficult for us as people because we have this selfish, or I would say we have these voids that we're trying to fill. And so if you're here in front of me, then I need you to fill these voids before
Right.
I can give my love away.
Mm,
So you got to fill my voids first. And I
right.
and I believe that's, for me, that's what gets to know. That's what got away from myself, trying to fill my voids first.
So I have a couple things, what it looks like to be love in daily life. And so like let's put a scale on this, like one, you struggle with this completely, you're not
Okay.
even close
So
to
one
being
is
there, and
struggle. Okay.
10 being like I'm 100% there.
Like I'm living
Okay,
that life.
okay, number 1, having compassion in conflict.
5.
Mm,
Because I
mm,
gotta catch it. I might have it in the beginning initially, but if I don't have it, I gotta catch it. And it
yeah,
may take a few minutes to realize my behavior,
yeah,
to be like, oh, let me calm down and listen to what this person has to say first.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would say for me, like I want to say 5 right out the gate, because there's times when I'm compassionate immediately, and there's
Mhm.
other times where it takes me a minute. I would say most times by the time we get to reflection on whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'm a good like
Yeah.
9-ish on it. but but it just depends. Like, we all have those very human reactions. I
Yeah.
will say I feel like the turnaround time has gotten a lot quicker than it used to be.
And that's the great thing.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
great. That's what we want. We
Right.
want to be able to recognize. The faster you recognize these things in yourself, the
Mhm.
quicker that you can correct them. And that's
Right.
a master corrects them right when they feel it, like right when they say it. Oh man, I didn't like. So a lot. Imagine you catching that in 2 minutes versus 2 weeks.
Right. Right.
Like that's huge to
Yeah.
just recognize it sooner.
I had a friend that was going through something, and what they were going through was something that was very opposite of the way that I live. And so when they came to me about this thing, um my response that I gave wasn't bad, but it wasn't exactly compassionate either.
Oh yeah.
Um, it wasn't mean by any means, but it wasn't like I should have just shut up. Is what I should have done, because, like I said, it was outside of the lifestyle that I live. I didn't know enough to say anything, and I think sometimes that's something that we don't give enough credit for in our lives, is being silent.
Yes.
Sometimes we don't have to have the last word. We don't have to always know what to say. And I
Yeah.
think being quiet sometimes is completely like underrated.
Yeah. For
I
sure.
really do, because sometimes we just need to quiet. But I knew I will in that situation. I knew almost immediately, within like 60 seconds. I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, shouldn't have said that." And so it's hard. I think we all have those, no matter how evolved we might feel in the realm of compassion. I think
Right.
also, especially if something that you are reacting to is so outside of what you experience and your awareness of things, that we might not be able to immediately put ourselves in those other person's shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, the next thing, 1 to 10 or 0 to 10
Okay. Let me
here.
see.
Loving without expecting it in return.
Oh. Um. Yeah, I think I'm a 10 on that one.
You think so? Really?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay, so I think I'm pretty high as far as expectation is concerned.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't think I would probably give myself another 5 as far as like it's not the expectation. Like I get real sad. I get really sad. Like and I experience it on a really deep level, and then I get disappointed that I'm experiencing it on that really deep level. And so
That
I
you
think
created the disappointment.
yeah, because
That's the
you know,
catch.
sometimes we expect people somebody told me one time, don't expect people to be who they're not.
Yeah, there's a lot of
And
cliches around there. There's a lot of
yeah,
cliches out there that just mess us up sometimes.
and so yeah, so it's a hard one for me. I don't necessarily expect love in return. I think people are where they are, but it still winds me up how wound up I get about love not being in return because
See,
because I recognize I put so much of myself
yeah.
into that,
I'm reversed though. I think that people have more expectations from me, and I'm the one being disappointed. I'm disappointed.
Mm,
Like I'm
that's
the one that's
interesting.
creating the disappointment because
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm the one that's being that for them.
Mm,
So it's for me, it's like in reverse though, because I feel like I have more expectations put on me than I put on people.
right. Right. All right. So this third one,
Mm.
practicing patience, empathy, and service. Practicing patience, and you could separate those if you need
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
because I'm gonna have to.
I was like, the last one that you said, yeah, that was like
Brittany,
probably
are
like
you
a
rating
3.
yourself out there? I need to know if you're rating yourself out there. Compassion and conflict was the first one. Loving without expecting in return is the second one. The next one, practicing patience, empathy, and service. What do you think, Ron?
Patience. I'm about a I'm about a 7 because that's one of my goals is to master my patience. So I'm about a 7 on patience. What was the second one?
Empathy.
Empathy. Oh yeah, I'm like a 9 or 10 on
Yeah.
empathy,
Yeah.
and then the last one was like
Service.
about a 2.
Really?
Yeah, because it goes back to what I just discovered is if I give myself that way, I like this I'm avoiding that disappointment. So I'm not able to like just be of service like that freely. Like like I said, there's a level of expectation connected to it, and then if I put me in the middle of it, then it's not good enough. It's not worth it. So yeah, that's a 2 in service.
I think patience is low for me, man. I always joke about how when the stork dropped me off, it was missing patience. Um, patience is tough for me. I get really frustrated. Um, but I always try, that's something I'm really working on. I will say that I try to remind myself that, um, like we talked about earlier in the show, the experiences that we've been through, and even sometimes the experiences our ancestors have been through, help to form our opinions and thoughts around things. And so, I feel like I constantly am reminding myself that not everybody has had the same experience as me. So they're not
Right,
going to respond the same way as you, Jessica. Like,
right, right.
so patience, I'll go with 5 again on that because I really feel
I was
very
gonna give
middle
you at
of the road.
least. I was gonna give all these shows that you have. Like, you gotta. That's like about a 6.
I
You gotta
mean,
have patience with the people
I
you
would
work
say
with.
I would have to compartmentalize patience
Oh,
a little bit because I think there's many instances I do have a lot of patience. I have 6 kids. I got to have patience somewhere.
somewhere.
Somewhere there's got to be some patience in there. But I do I was sharing earlier about an exercise that I was doing before the show. I was sharing with Farron an exercise I was doing. And when it came to what are the things that you find frustrating, I found myself like typing in all caps, like I'm getting upset, like because it asks like what are the things that you what are the things that like you lose patience
Yeah.
with people or get frustrated
Patience.
with? So empathy, I feel like a 10,
Yeah.
10, 100%. Because uh even if and this really plays into, I feel like, my ability to love, even if I don't agree with somebody, I can always see this could be where they're coming from, or this could be, they've been through something in order for them to be where they're at. So empathy, I feel like, is a 10. Service is also, I feel, really high for me. I am always that person that's like, you're moving, you need a hand. Are you hungry? Do you need something to eat? And I really, I lean into um service. For me, the example of that, and I shared this with you behind the scenes before, is this time of year always makes me think of my grandmother during the Lenten season, because she used to, for Holy Thursday, volunteer to wash the people's feet
Yeah.
in the church. And so for me, there's no greater love than service, like
Yeah.
doing and helping each other, and in whatever way that looks like. And so I feel like there's still some room for improvement. A good 8 or 9 on the service for me, but the patience is the kryptonite for
I
us.
want to touch on the patience one because I'm listening to you, and my subconscious mind is my friend now. So my subconscious mind is like, oh yeah, what about this? And I'm thinking with patience, sometimes we have to be aware of ourselves that when we are patient with people, we're not giving our power away or diminishing ourselves to be with them. And I believe that sometimes we feel like I got to reduce myself to be patient.
Yeah,
And
that's a
so
great
right, so I was thinking like what would be the opposite of that is I'm looking at the experience of life, right? And the experience of myself has to be a level of confidence, a level of way that I'm not losing myself because I'm giving you the space to be patient, right? I'm being patient. And I think that's the difference that a lot of things we think that we do patience and it's just going to be there because I did it right now, so it should just linger and to stay there. No, patience is a way of being. It's biblically, it's a principle and it's a key to be patient. Patience is a virtue, like, so you have to be that. And I was just thinking like, well, how can I be patient and not feel like I'm diminishing myself for this person?
I think you're onto something that's making me think a little bit, because there's many times when I've caught myself saying certain things. So, for example, I don't have the energy to do this right now, but I'm doing it. So I do have the energy because I'm doing it. I think I don't necessarily give myself a whole lot of patience credit, because I could be being patient, but I think I'm not separating patience from frustration, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Yeah, for
I could
sure.
be being patient. I'm clearly sitting here waiting for your
Right.
slow behind,
Right.
but
But that
I'm
inner stuff is on you. See, that's where that
right,
lives. It lives over here.
right.
So you could be patient and calm, but still have your body sensations going like, but you're like, oh
Why
yeah,
can't you just be on time?
right. But
You know?
that lives over there,
Yeah.
right? And that person doesn't pick that up. If you're being patient, they're not gonna see that.
Yeah.
But that's the
Mhm.
body sensations and
Yeah.
the body keeps the score and whatever that comes from. So that's why I was thinking like maybe because some people live their life through principles like win or lose. Like my ex-wife, she would always say like, I'm I'm gonna lose.
Right.
And it's like, no, what do you like? But that's an opinion about those things, right? And
Mhm.
so I think sometimes the way that we talk and our opinions could get in the way
Right.
of what it is to be patient and have an opinion about patience. And then that's
Right.
the body sensations and how we feel when
Mhm.
actually it's just a way to be. And the more you practice
Yeah.
being patient, those body sensations will go away or they'll diminish or they may not. But you're
Right.
not losing yourself. You're not giving up your power to give that person the empathy or the space.
Right.
Or now
I
I'm saying
think
even the service now because now my
right.
two was the service. So maybe my thing is the service and feeling like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I mean, see, Brittany said that's how it is now that you mention it. It's the frustration for me. And I think where the challenge comes in, where patience is concerned, is that, or anything really, is we might be doing something. We might be doing or being patient, but we could be experiencing all these other little things like
Right.
frustration. And the challenge comes in when we allow that frustration to take priority over the patience.
Yeah.
When we stop being patient because we're frustrated, when we stop serving because we feel like whatever is in the way of us being of service, when we stop being empathy because we feel like
Right.
that's going to somehow
Feelings.
take away from
The
our
feelings and emotions get
experience.
in the way. Yeah, the feelings and
Right.
emotions get in the way
Right.
for sure. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
100% with that. That could be the difference.
Yeah. It's just so that I feel like in this, what love and action really means for me is an awareness of
Mhm.
how some of the things I'm experiencing might get in the way of me being love,
Right.
and all of that.
Yeah.
So I want to shift to love as a conscious practice. Like, for me, being love is about more than just sitting here and telling you, well, I've always been a lovey person,
Yeah.
but like consciously choosing or deciding, which little preview into what we're going to be talking about next. Next mini series is coming soon, you
I
guys.
need some water. I need some water.
Um, I feel like to be love, to like to show love in action is a conscious practice. And so that means that for me, and I talk about joy similarly on Project Joy Live,
Mm.
love doesn't always mean softness. And we talked about
Mm.
this in our conversation about boundaries. Sometimes it includes things like boundaries and accountability and some of the hard conversations. Love
Mhm.
isn't always just like Disney princess level.
Please say for the people in the back, please.
Love
This is
love is
not.
not always Disney princess.
It's not. Oh, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a conscious practice. Like, I feel like you could sit here, if what I said is true, when we talked about, if what I said is true, that
Yeah.
love is the core of who we are, it's the energy of what creates us as a human being, then you're always going to be love. But whether or not it shows outside of your being is this conversation.
Yeah. To me, if I'm listening correctly, it's the environment that your love produces. Like, are you I learned that you can leave that grocery store clerk upset or at peace or kindness or happy by your attitude, by your behavior, right? And so we can leave people frustrated or at peace. And I believe that's the conscious decision that we have to be able to make. And I teach now for my second year emotional intelligence to fourth and fifth graders. And so I go through the process of what it is to be respectful of yourself. And they know what it feels like when they're being respectful of themselves. And each student has a different word to describe what that is for them.
Mm.
So I want them to hear that, hey, listen to your peers, because everybody has a different view of what it is to be respectful and what it feels like when you're not being respected or respectful. And so you have the power to leave people a certain way. And yeah, and I don't like the term when people say, well, you make me mad. Like, there's another part to that, but I do have the power to leave people upset or frustrated. And that's what led me to this, having this kind of show with you, because I was like, I do my sickle cell trait advocacy, but who is Farron when there's no sergeant first class, when there's no advocate? Like, who am I when I show up? And that's where I went to the Bible, because that's what the seeds were planted in my life from my parents and my grandparents. What the Bible have to say about that? And the Bible had nothing but great things.
Right.
So it's like, oh, okay. And then my landmark classes, align with the Bible, because they're talking about be the possibility of love and kindness and joy. Like you got to create that sometimes consciously
Right.
to be that kind of person. And the more you practice, the more that shows. And that's the fruit that we give people when they come to us.
Right.
Are they getting frustration from us? Or are they getting the patience and the calmness? And
Right.
that's I believe that's the consciousness that we have to
Right.
recognize
Yeah.
for ourselves though.
I agree with you that we have the opportunity to create a certain kind of energy or leave people a certain way, right? There's that saying that says leave people better than you found them or
Mhm.
something like that. But um so how then, as a real life example, how then do you handle it when you've done put in the effort to create, to be have that awareness, to be loved, to create a space where someone feels a certain way, but maybe you have a person come along that is committed to misunderstanding you. They're committed to being like
Mm.
there is no
Mhm.
you might have put your whole heart into a space that you've created for someone. How do you then deal with that situation? Because we could, yes, we have the power to do it,
Yeah.
but it's also like there's some responsibility that falls on the other party to be open and willing to accept that space that you've
Yeah.
created.
Well, as we teach and talk about, communication is a harmonious kind of conversation. So if I'm being patient and I'm being calm and I'm being loving and caring, and that person is still dealing with something in their space,
Yeah.
then it's time for me to put my views and my opinions aside and find, well, what's going on with you? You seem kind of upset over there. What's going on? And so now it shifts that conversation off of me to be more interested in them than versus me trying to be that space for them to find out what's
Mhm.
going on over there, because you seem like you're frustrated. And people will tell you, I'm not frustrated, I'm this. Oh, that's what that is. So what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
is that about me, or or is that from work or wherever? And so I've learned that, like, at some point you've got to stop being interesting and become interested, and then
Ooh.
now allow that person to express whatever's going on in their space, like you said, the body sensation and the craziness that they're dealing with, and
Yes.
maybe they just need the space to let it out.
Yes.
So yeah, you got
Yes.
to ask. I tell my daughter, you got to ask your mom more questions. You react. You got to ask more questions. And the more questions you ask, it gives that person the space to unravel and let some of that stuff go, especially if it's not about you. It may not even be about you that they're upset with and frustrated with that in that moment.
And one of the things that I think is so important to point out here, anybody else when they were growing up told to
Mm.
stop asking so many stupid
Oh
questions?
my gosh.
Anybody else?
Woo,
Me, 1,000,000%. I
woo.
was chatty Jessica all the time.
That's
Can't
the
even
worst
tell you
you
how
can
many
do.
times in school I got in trouble for talking to my neighbor, okay? Um, I always was told, and now I'm a talk show. So see, guys, it was what I was supposed to be doing all along. So, but I was always kind of told, like, stop asking so many questions, like, be quiet, like, shh. And even now, as an adult, I am always the person that's asking a lot of questions. And I understand that to some people that comes across as that I'm making fun of or
Mm.
something, and that's not the case. I'm genuinely and so for all the people that know me well, if I'm asking you a million questions, I promise you it is me. I'm just trying to get to the heart and
Yes.
really understand, because like I said, I already feel that empathy for you, and now I
Yeah.
want to understand why. I want to understand you. Um and so I will ask a ton of questions and people get frustrated with me, but I think we need to, so if people are not asking questions, we have to remember that a lot of us were told to stop asking so many stupid questions when we were growing up. So I think that in this space, and now I'm having my own breakthrough moment here. So much of my frustration, and I uncovered this actually earlier today. A lot of my frustration with the world is an overwhelming lack of commitment to listen.
Oh yeah. For
to
sure.
listen to each other.
It's the fracture.
And for whatever reasons. And so, like, I'm just realizing how many people that are unwilling to listen were told to stop asking questions growing up. So I think we have to remember that if people are not digging deeper on some of these things, that we've been conditioned to stop asking questions.
You know, it's again, this goes back to my teachings for church. You know, the word says for us to get back to the mind of a child, the wonder for no reason. That's what that's what we do as children. We ask questions because we just want to know why. There's no real reason for that child. They just want to know why, with no reason. But as adults, when we get the broken experiences and the disappointments and all that, and my mom didn't hear me, or they told me to be quiet, so now I'm just gonna not talk. Like, those are the things that now, okay, I gotta suppress all that. And then who do you become? You pretend like you're not that person, but then it comes out anyway. And it's like, who are you? But at the same time, how do we give that space for the mind of the wonder and just be like free to ask questions for no reason? And that's living an unreasonable life. But it's difficult when you got opinions and disappointments and all that stuff. You're carrying that. And as soon as you say something that sounds like my mama, or that teacher, or my dad, or my aunt or uncle who told that to me, like, no, then I'm gonna defend that, because that's a hurtful space that you're about to open up, and I don't want to give that to you. But also I want to give it to you, but I don't, because it's a painful. We gotta have to go through all the pains before we can get to the freedom.
Right.
And so we don't allow people to share and talk and ask questions. And you might, and if I give you my answer, you might not be, my thing is, you might not be my friend no more if I tell you the truth about what I'm dealing with. You might judge me. I don't want you to slander I'm telling you my intimate secrets, and then you're going to slander my name around. Like, those are all kind of the guarded mechanisms that we deal with. And we want love in the midst of it. Yeah. It's like, how does that work?
I don't know.
Obviously it doesn't.
Okay, so we
cameo.
We were doing those ratings before.
There's more?
I have one more.
Okay,
before we go to our last break really quickly.
Okay, I could do it.
Do you act do you make decisions based on love rather than fear or ego?
Do I make decisions based off of love? I make decisions more off of fear than love.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, you're 10 being you always make decisions from love, and 1 being never. You know what I'm gonna do? We're gonna take a super quick break, and we're gonna marinate on this for just a minute.
Thank you. Back to you in the studios.
We're going to take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back to finish up this.
Please. Bye. Please press the button. Press the button.
We'll be right back.
Press the button.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org.
Welcome back to Beyond 2D. We are on the final episode of our mini-series about love, and we've been having such a great time, as you can tell by Farron's incessant eye rolling during this entire series.
I'm good at that too, by the way.
Before we went to break, listen, I'm good at that. It's a superpower. We asked before the break on a scale of 1 to 10. You got to rate yourself now. Do you make decisions? 10 is you always make decisions based on love, and 1 is you always make decisions based on fear or ego. Did you decide on a number?
Can we is this in family relationships? What
it's any decision. If you're being loved, okay.
So it's mixed. It's mixed. If I mix it all together, I would say about a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe, like we said earlier in the show, it starts off really nice, and so bliss. And
we have the best intentions.
Yeah, we have the best intentions, and it's like ooh, and then those conversations happen, and then it's like and now I'm making decisions out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when I was in that mindset of it's not good enough, it's not worth it. So when I put Farron in the middle of that conversation, then it's all bad. If I leave me out of it and focus on the person, then I believe it's a 7 or 8. But as soon as I put Farron in the middle of my opinions about myself, it diminishes that experience to a 2 or a 3, to a 2 or a 3. So it just depends on the
right. I think a lot of these things can be very situational. Yeah, depending on what all we put in the middle of it. Brittany gave herself an 8 or a 9 on this one. I cannot give myself out of the gate. I immediately want to be like, well, 10, because I just love, I'm a lovey person. But I have to be really honest and think about those times when it is really challenging to be that, not just be love, but be that love in action.
Right.
Those times, those patience times, those other times when I'm experiencing other things, I would probably, if I'm being really honest, knock myself from a 10 to a 7. Like I would really like, I would have to knock myself down a little bit. I don't think I could go as high as an 8 or a 9, because I do have those other things like frustration
Yeah.
as an experience that I'm still working on, because I'm a human and I have stuff to do almost in this life.
And I gotta be okay. I gotta be okay with, when I discover these things about myself that they may never go away. And so I may have to be conscious of, when I put Farron in the middle, that I'm gonna experience of myself, which is gonna allow that person to be diminished. Because if I'm not good enough, then I'm not gonna take the action.
Right.
If I don't feel like I'm worth it, then how can I give that away if I don't have it for myself? And those are the things I believe that like you said, the other person's got to also be in the same kind of space where they recognize, hey, what's going on over there? Are you cool? Yeah. But if we don't have that kind of open communication where you can call me out on my mess, or I give you permission to, hey, you have the ability to ask me if I'm okay. Like, I give you that space. Yeah. Don't be afraid, because I may not have the confidence to say something, because I might just be in my head to the point where does the disconnection live at? Does it live over here with me, or does it live over there with the person? And a lot of times I'm playing back that disconnection lived over here with me, right, first. And then it forces that person to be disconnected because I'm disconnected with myself. Right. So I still believe at the end of the day, this love conversation, it goes back to what I speak and teach and preach from, is you got to rediscover your self-love.
Well, and I think that we could easily knock ourselves down on this scale a little bit as we talk about the decisions that we make for ourselves. Right. How many of us, because I have been there, say that we want better health, losing weight, better mental clarity, whatever it is with our physical body, and then we haul our behinds over to the store and buy that bag of Doritos and put ourselves in front of the TV and binge watch a show instead of getting up and eating a carrot and working out.
Yeah.
Like, we could knock ourselves down on this scale of making decisions from love, right, because we say we want all these things. And this is, I mean, this could have been a whole love in action when it comes to ourselves, could have been
right.
its whole episode.
That's part 5.
Could have been a whole other episode, because we say we want these things in our lives, but our actions are showing something completely different. We act out of not just fear and ego, but scarcity.
Yeah.
Of not enoughness. Of all of these things other than love, because love isn't those things.
Right. Not at all. Yeah. It's not even connected to those.
So that's another, we have all these habits and vices as human beings that we're just not willing to give up. Well, is that loving? Is that making decisions from love?
Not when you recognize where it's coming from. They say
there it is.
If you know better, they say if you know better, you do better. But I say if you know better, you got to be better first.
That's it.
We can no longer discount our human experience, and I believe that's at the forefront.
It's not that saying, when you know better, you do better, is not true. Mm-mm. It's not true, because between those two things is a choice or a decision. Yeah. And some of y'all aren't willing to make those choices or decisions. So there isn't a do better, because awareness is only the first step of many.
Yeah. It takes something. It takes whatever that courage or like, you got to, at the end of the day, you got to tell the truth to yourself. Not to me, not to Jessica, not to your friends and family. You got to tell the truth to yourself. Yep. And we pray that it doesn't come down to a health condition that then forces you to try to figure it out at the very end.
when we get into our
Uh-oh.
topic next time,
April.
I experienced something this last week that is directly related to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save it.
Cool.
That there it is. There's the new saying: when you choose better, you do better.
You gotta be better first.
Gotta be.
We're human beings, not human doings.
That's it.
We're human beings. Don't discount your human experience. Along with the shame and the embarrassment and the disappointment, there's kindness, there's love, there's patience, there's all those other ones. You gotta be able to pull one of those other ones out and not just go with the automatic response of frustration.
Right.
It's just conscious. You said it was up there. Conscious. We got to make a conscious aware.
Yeah.
You got to recognize it.
So going into our next.
Yes, that's one of my
Ron's
favorites.
idea. So you better not roll your eyes at this because this one was on you.
That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorites.
I wanted to talk about love. Farron wanted to talk about choices and decisions. I got to go first, so now it's going to be on Farron.
Are you going to be on the episodes? Are you going to be here?
Oh, of course. I'm ready. I'm ready for this because I think that there is so much. We have more power in this life than we realize, and it's all based on that. It's all based on that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited also because I want to talk about, for me, one of the things that I want to examine for myself is what I deal with in the aftermath of choosing or deciding wrong for myself.
That's
in the
where
moment.
it is. That's where it all is right there.
Because when I tell you, I struggle with the guilt.
That's where it's at.
And it's going to all tie into this story that I want to be prepared to share with you guys during the next series because it's going to tie. It's going to bridge it from this love conversation to this choices and decisions.
If you ever felt like you ran into a brick wall, it's right here. These are the brick walls right here. That's the brick walls. That's what it feels like.
We're going to be back with you guys on Tuesday, April 8th for the start of that series. Choices and decisions. What are you squinting for? Are we not going to be back that day?
Yeah. I got to be better at my calendar. That's what I got to be.
I know somebody that's good at that.
When you said the 8th, I was like, there's something going on the 8th. I think it's just a meeting that day, I think. Yeah, I think it's just a meeting. I'm good.
It's gonna be. We're gonna be here. I'm gonna be here regardless.
Beyond 2D is all my. I tell people all my shows are in my life, so I schedule around my shows, so I know it's not going to interfere with that episode.
Same.
Sure, but,
Same. I'm like, baby, you got to get a ride home because I have a show to do. I'm not coming to get you tonight. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, my husband was watching the show and I did not realize, and because he texted me while we were on break.
What do you say?
He wanted me to make sure to let you guys know that bringing your wife home chocolate when she is hormonal is love in action. And I agree. Because I am the lucky one on the receiving end of that. And not just any chocolate, but like gourmet.
See, here we go.
Delicious.
See now it's not just any chocolate. You gotta have the gourmet.
I'm just saying he knows me well.
Thanks, guy. Thanks. We appreciate all that over there, Mr. Chocolate Man. Thank you.
Who can take a sunrise?
Not the candy man.
Sprinkle it.
Don't say it 3 times in the mirror.
I see Brittany agrees too.
Brittany.
Listen, we have too much fun over here. Yeah. All right. Anything you want to? I have something I want to leave the people with. What do you want to leave the people with the finishing out this series?
I just want to say that again, it goes back to self-love. If your self-love is fractured in any area, you got to look and see where it's coming from, because that could get in the way of how you express your love and also receive love. I believe that the self-love, self-awareness, because we talk about interpersonal relationships when we talk about love. But what's the interpersonal relationship between you and yourself and what love is for you? That's where you start. When you can figure out that percentage, and don't say I don't love myself. You gotta give yourself a percent. How much do you love yourself in a percentage? And then you're gonna discover, even if you love yourself 50% of the time, then you can start with that much love of 50%. And then figure out what that other 50% is that you don't like about yourself.
Right.
And then that's the work. Because if you don't do that part of the work of that 50%, that's your filter on other people of what you don't love about yourself is what you're going to look through other people. And you're always going to look for, are they recognizing my flaws? So self-love, got to have it.
All right, self-love. You heard it here
A
first.
percentage of it, at least.
That's it. So we talked about how love isn't just something we say or feel, it's something we live. It's in our choices, our tone, our silence, our service. To be loved means showing up even when it's hard, choosing empathy when ego wants to shout, and offering kindness even in the chaos. It means redefining love as a way of being, not just a reaction to a relationship.
Yeah.
So, as we close out this series, we invite you to ask yourself, how can I be loved today? Explore what it looks like for you. And we're going to be back in a couple weeks with our next series, Choices versus Decisions.
Ooh, the brick wall segments.
It's going to be great. Thanks for joining me for this, Farron.
Yes, thank you for taking this on and allow. Like I said, I got some freedom from our conversation this series, so
Me too.
it's always a bonus.
Yes,
Always
we
a
love
bonus.
that. We love that. We come here to just chat. We're in this with you. We said this at the beginning of the show. We are in this, exploring these things with you. We are not when we created Beyond 2D, it was not the intention to come on here as experts in things. It was lived experience with you all. That's what we're doing here. I do want to remind you guys, you're going to see Dorothy Auger's For Love poem on the way out tonight. We meet every single day, literally 365, to read Dorothy's For Love poem together. It happens, and it's going to sound weird to my US friends, but it happens at 1 p.m. Brussels time, like Belgium. Okay. That means, I'm going to help you all out because they change time after us this week. I know it gets real confusing, but it is on the Breakthrough Show Network calendar. I'm going to make it easy for you. Go to the breakthroughshownetwork.com and look at the calendar.
Brussels.
But it's either at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. Eastern time. So that's when we do it. So go look at the calendar. Come and join us for that, because we set an intention for the day of how we're going to choose to be the love, to send it out. And then we read the poem together. It's a quick 5 minutes. Then we go about our day. So I want to remind you guys of that. And I would love to have you there. We thank you guys.
4 or 5 o'clock in the morning over here.
Yeah, for the Pacific time.
Yeah, okay. No wonder.
Early. Yeah. We kept it at what time Dorothy always did it. When she passed away, we kept it at her time, and we roll with it, and that's it. But we love you guys so much in the way that we love and in the way you want to receive it.
Receive it.
And I'm going to be sad if you don't, because I talked about that earlier.
Oh my gosh. Sadness lives over there. This is, matter of fact, go and watch Inside Out, please. Part 1 and part 2.
Oh, those are good movies. And we have an episode of Project Joy where my daughter was on with me to talk about that movie. So you guys should go check that out as well.
Yes.
It's fun to hear from a child's perspective too. So I'm Jessica Dugas. This is
Farron Dozier, retired Army Sergeant First Class.
And you just watched Beyond 2D, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye, everybody. See you later.
I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart. I shall stand for love, for the world is wounded, not just my little piece of land, where I am mostly safe, where I am mostly well, but our world, everywhere, every day. I shall stand for love, because we need more light, not more death, not more power, not more bombs. I shall stand for love, so that our children are safe, so that our friends are sheltered, so that our borders are open. I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart.